Greetings, dear viewers, and welcome to an episode where I take a piece of media, be it comic, manga, or animation, and see if it's good, bad, or somewhere in between. Today we're going to be taking a look at a manga adaptation to a certain game produced by Sega that, for a long time, was regarded as their flagship series during their heyday in the 90s. And the name of that game is none other than... No, that's a comic, not a manga, and even then that's not what I was referring to. Huh. I guess that's a thing then. What I'm actually referring to is Sakura Wars. But wait, I hear some of you already asking, what is Sakura Wars? Well, sit back because I'm about to drop a history lesson on you. Sakura Wars is a classic game and anime franchise that was released for the Sega Saturn back in 1996. And you know that you're old when you remember what a Sega Saturn even was. The story takes place in a fictionalized version of the Taisho era of Japan, which, for those wondering, is around the mid-1910s. In this world, people have harnessed the power of steam, which they use to advance their societies. Factories hum on the horizon, letting wisps of vapor into the sky. All the while, folks clad in kimono and dapper suits alike wander the streets of the capital. In short, it's steampunk. In the darkest of shadows, a glimmer of fangs can sometimes be seen, and the leathery beating of wings can be heard beating in chorus with primal shrieks in the night sky. They are the Koma. To combat these abominations, the Japanese military developed the Kobu, walking tanks that are fueled by the raw spiritual power of their pilots. As fate would have it, nearly all of those who can pilot a Kobu happen to be women. And before you ask, none of the girls getting into the robots is named Shinji Ikari. Heyo! The game has you taking on the role of Captain Ogami, a soldier who was just transferred over to the Flower Division from the military. The game utilizes a combination of turn-based RPG strategy during the combat events, while also using a dating sim aspect when you aren't on missions. The series lasted about 5 entries during its original run from 1996 up until the early 2000s, with a 6th entry having been released as of this video's uploading. So let's dive into the first chapter of the Sakura Wars manga and see if it's good, bad, or somewhere in between. We open with a group of people being attacked by a giant samurai mech suit. While the people are running away in panic, a young woman stands before the mech with her sword in hand, staring down the mech. Whoa boy, the Rule 63 Samurai Jack design looks amazing. You're interrupting the citizens of the Imperial Capital in their flower viewing, mechanical monster. I, Shinguji Sakura, will never forgive you. We take our flower viewing very seriously. With a swing of her blade, Sakura cleaves the mech in half before turning her back to it, performing the delayed explosion trope, which, in my humble opinion, is an awesome trope that never gets old. She then completes said trope by turning and smiling as she views the cherry blossom trees releasing their petals. Good job, Sakura! You killed the mech, and the only casualties were a few trees that everybody wanted to lose. Yikes! We cut to an open field where we meet Ogami Ichiro, the main character of the first 4 Sakura Wars games, who's currently in the middle of a battle simulation with his team for their graduation at the academy. He suggests that since their opponents haven't pinpointed their location, they should try to outflank them. That is, until said enemy decides to bring in a steam tank. Man, Metal Slug's designs got a little bit sloppy. Our instructors are messing with us! Them sending in a steam tank is a violation of the rules, right? In a real battle, there are no rules. On the battlefield, you never know what you're going to face. It's still our duty to face and defeat the enemy. No matter what, a soldier must always faithfully fulfill his duty. And I'm sure that that saying will never, ever, ever come back to bite me in the ass. Why am I so sad all of a sudden? I kid though. In all seriousness, Ogami does have a point. You don't know what life is going to throw at you, especially if you're in the middle of a battle with an opponent who, for all you know, won't follow any sort of rules, especially when their only goal is to kill you. And, for better or worse, you have to deal with the situation presented to you. Hearing Ogami's words, his friend Kayama, another character who is well known in the franchise, rushes out to charge the enemy to clear a path to the steam tank with Ogami following behind him, ordering his troops to give Kayama cover. We cut to the enemy side where, oh my god, did that soldier get shot in the ass? Are they actually using bullets? Man, Japan really takes their battle simulation serious. Kayama manages to avoid getting shot at by the steam tank. I guess Kayama is a student of Piccolo since he must have studied the art of Kayama manages to run up a tree and get above the steam tank. He then proceeds to fire at it and... oh. Huh. Well, I guess they're using paintballs then. He uses the opportunity to fire a shot at the tank's optical sensor to blind it, which prevents the instructor from being able to use it. I'm sorry, but my mind is still back to the instructor that got shot in the ass. Seriously, I know they're using paintballs instead of actual bullets, but come on, man. A shot to the ass? That was just mean. The steam tank suddenly begins to malfunction and causes Kayama to fall off. Even worse, the instructor is standing right behind him. Stand up, Kayama. You're dead. Death by ass shot. After the instructor makes what is probably the creepiest grin I can imagine, he notices a gun clicking behind him. Turns out, this was Ogami's plan all along. Cast aside your gun, instructor. Shit, you did it again. Ogami, you bastard! An announcement is made declaring the simulation over. Back at the Itajima Naval Academy, Ogami and his team celebrate their graduation in the Academy's bathhouse, with Kayama passing champagne around to his team. Excuse me, sir, but I believe the actual name is Champagne, you uncultured swine.
It's pronounced champagne.
Oh god, no!
You stole the champagne from the instructor's room! Stole? That's a rather rude term. I'm just borrowing it from them for a while. I plan to pay them back with a bottle of Granny's peach tea. The next day, Ogami meets with his superior officer, Sergeant Misumi Naoki, where he informs Ogami as to where he will be posted. Ogami Ichiro, you are hereby ordered to report to the Imperial Theater Service. As of today, you are assigned to serve under Lieutenant General Yoneda Iki. Give him your full support. You're not permitted to question these orders. This is a very special duty.
That's a big duty.
We cut to 4 days later where Ogami is waiting to meet a messenger from Yoneda to escort him to the Imperial Theater. Excuse me, are you Ensign Ichiro Ogami? And the messenger sent is none other than the woman we saw earlier, Sakura Shinguji. Ogami is in disbelief about her being the messenger, but assures her of his identity. They start making their way to the Imperial Theater, but Ogami is still in disbelief about her identity, thinking that, well, she's just an ordinary citizen. No matter how I look at her, she's a normal girl, and she's cute. Okay, Ogami, as much as I agree with that statement, Sakura for best girl by the way, I don't think her husband would take kindly to you ogling her. And I'm not even kidding about that husband bit. Apparently, Sakura Shinguji is married to none other than Sega Sanshiro, another mascot from Sega during the Saturn and Dreamcast era. Dude is like the Chuck Norris of Japan. You do not mess with Sega Sanshiro and his waifu! And if it isn't obvious by now, I am a huge nerd for this series. They arrive at the Imperial Theater, where Ogami is surprised to see that it's an actual theater, and not just a code name for a military base. Sakura is called away by another staff member, but she instructs Ogami where to find Yoneda's office, and that all he has to do is just go through the cafeteria area. Ogami thinks to himself that this is all some kind of undercover operation, before being caught off guard by a young girl talking to him. This is Iris, another member of the Imperial Theater like Sakura. As we'll find out later on, she has telekinetic abilities, which is why she is able to read Ogami's mind. Why does she know about me? Yes, I wonder why. Why now about Oni-chan? Do you want me to tell you? Before she could get any more creepy, Iris is called away by yet another member of the theater group, who introduces herself to Ogami as Maria Tachibana. She's also one of the members who's very stoic and is the ice queen of the bunch. She informs Ogami that Yoneda is waiting for him and walks off after introducing herself, giving him a very stoic and cold look. Whew, someone turn down the temperature because it is freezing in here. That girl, does she also have something to do with my duty? Ogami, no. No girl wants to ever have anything to do with anyone's duty. He makes his way into the cafeteria where he's suddenly called by a woman sitting at a table. She glares at him and demands that he picks up her fork that she dropped. He does so, and just stands there, much to her annoyance. Just how in the world is the theater training its new staff? Even if you make a building as splendid as this, it's no good if the service isn't proper. He recognizes her from the billboard and finds out that she's the theater's main star, Sumire Kanzaki, and he is none too pleased with her attitude towards him. Way to make a first impression, Sumire. Seriously though, in this scene, she acts like one of those customers you see giving the waiting staff a hard time for the most trivial of things. Word of advice, Sumire?
Don't with people that handle your food.
He of course corrects her by saying he isn't a busboy and informs her of his name and military rank. And she laughs, possibly trying to cover up her embarrassment and how she feels for making a mistake. Wait a minute, that laugh. Oh. Oh my god! Run for your lives! That laugh haunts me. So anyway, Sumire apologizes and says that she's on edge because of the performance that's tonight, and she also gets Ogami's name wrong. Understandably miffed at her for earlier and for not having the courtesy to even remember his name, Ogami decides to get a little payback. Farewell, Ensign Nogawa. Farewell, Kanzaki to Sumire. I am Kanzaki Sumire! How would you like it if someone said your name wrong, Ogawa Shoei? Much less I, a lady. On top of that, the top star of the Tekeki. I can absolutely not forgive someone who misspeaks the name Kanzaki Sumire. Lady, you mistake him for the Help. Complain about his performance expecting it to be perfect, and to add hypocrisy to the list, you got his name wrong. And you have the audacity to get mad just because he got yours wrong. Intentional or not, you are the asshole here. Go to hell. And before anyone tries to comment, yes, I am very well aware she isn't like this later on in the story or in the games, but this is supposed to be our first impression to most of the cast, and I'm sorry, Sumire really gives a bad impression of her character. If you went into this blind, you'd think she was the same. You'd think she was a bitch. But moving on. We later find Ogami finally meets with Yoneda. He thanks Ogami for coming and states he'll be under his charge from now on. Ogami replies back in the militaristic fashion, but Yoneda tells him to ease up a bit. Sir, just what on earth is my duty? You want to know? Yes, sir. No, for the love of... Please! Just tell us what it is. If I have to hear him spout one more thing about his duty, I'ma lose it. I'm already on edge because of the last scene. He hands Ogami a set of clothes, much to his confusion. Very soon, customers will be cramming in to see the spectacle of the stage. Your duty is to go to the reception desk and clip the customer's tickets. In other words, you're a ticket clipper. And Ogami doesn't buy it. He thinks this is some undercover mission to spy and gather intel. But Yoneda informs him that he had been discharged from the military a long time ago, and he's just looking after the theater for a friend as its manager. And since the theater doesn't have any male helpers, he asks his subordinate Misumi, the captain that Ogami reported to earlier, to find somebody to act as his gopher. And the person they chose was Ogami. That can't be. Yes, it is. So this is not a special duty for the army or anything. Right now, as we're talking, you've already been demoted, Ensign Ogami Ichiro. Looking at the official documents, you have an excellent record. Did you somehow earn the resentment of an instructor at the academy? Well, I shot an instructor in the ass with a paintball. My best friend looted his office and replaced it with a bunch of his grandma's peach tea, which I'm beginning to think wasn't his grandma's peach tea in those bottles. I can't see how any of that would make people hate me. Ogami is understandably displeased with this and begs for Yoneda to send him back to the armed forces since he wants to protect the peace of the country and feels that that's where he belongs. He rejects Ogami's plea and states that as a soldier, he must abide by the military's regulations. So for argument's sake, let's say your superior officer made a mistake. Do you feel it's the subordinate's place to criticize or correct him? It isn't. A soldier, whatever the circumstances, a soldier must always faithfully fulfill his duty. Naval Ensign Ogami Ichiro, from now on, is the Great Imperial Theater's ticket clipper. And so later that night, Ogami begins his new job, and is having a difficult time, barely being able to keep up with the influx of customers coming in. This is why working retail sucks. Hey, don't be slow! Move it, you foolish ticket clipper! Hey, you bastard, how dare you! What did you say? Is that the way you greet a customer? Apologize! Yes, apologize! Just as Ogami has reached his limit, Yoda comes in and smacks him on the head. Wow, smacked in the face and smacked on the head. I think karma is almost done getting even with you, Ogami. I'm sorry, I'm the manager of this theater. This idiot is a new worker who just started today, so please forgive him on my behalf. You apologize to the customers too. I'm deeply sorry. Hey, newbie, be careful with your language. This is a theater. It's not like it's the army. We cut to afterwards with Ogami sulking in the rain outside of the building, having finally reached his breaking point. I'm not supposed to be a theater's ticket clipper. I am Naval Ensign Ogami Ichiro! I am shouting out in the rain for dramatic effect! This chapter was great. Despite my earlier snarky remarks with certain events and characters, this chapter really does do a lot to try and give us some insight into what the world of Sakura Wars is like. I can understand some people not being a fan of how dialogue heavy this chapter is, but it never feels like it's dragging its feet, and the scenes featuring Ogami especially are what help to establish him not only as the main character, but also as a character, since in the games, Ogami is a blank slate for the players to insert themselves in, and his character development is dependent on the player's choices throughout the game. As an adaptation to said game, it's a pretty faithful one to the introduction scene from the first game. I also like the humor in this. Despite my rant, I did get a chuckle out of Ogami and Sumire's interaction. I highly recommend checking out the manga for yourself, or heck, just go and get a copy of it from online. Although I do have to warn you that since this series was published under Tokyo Pop, copies of it may be hard to find after the company went under, and unfortunately they only published 7 of the manga's 9 volumes. Yeah. Still though, I'd strongly encourage you guys to check it out. As for checking out the games, well, that's a bit of a tragic story. TLDR, we never got the first 4 games. We did manage to get their 5th installment released, and we're also getting one of their newer entries as well this month. Links to purchasing both games in the descriptions below. And with that said, my dear viewers, tune in next time as we once again dive into another piece of media and see if it's good, bad, or somewhere in between. Thank you for watching, and take care.